Welcome to session 2 of our Creative Health Bring a Friend workshop. And today we're going to be moving into a new area. We're going to be talking about rest. And before we get started, let's have prayer. Bow our heads. Our Father, we thank you so much for this opportunity to come together and really focus on our health and the things that we need to do to improve. Be with us today. Open our minds and our eyes and our understanding. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen. So today I'm going to be doing rest. And those of you that were with me the January session, you have heard this before, but we're doing something a little different on this workshop in that we are doing a coaching session right along with the work session so that you might add steps to success to making the changes that you want to make in order to be more healthy. And so we have a lot of tools that we'll be sharing through the workshop, and we would like to add breakout sessions and things in small groups so that we can really talk through some of these workshop items and really get to the bottom of what is it that's preventing you from being successful at implementing the changes in your life that will improve your health. So welcome to week 2. We talked last week about the acronym for Creation Health, which spells out the different areas that we're going to be looking at. Last week we talked about choice, which is the very, very first step to making any change. And there was a lot of input in chapter 1 about choice. I hope that each of you have gone back and read that section. And I'm going to point out some things in that section today when I do the review to kind of focus you on some of the things that you might find in that session. Now, today's topic really is one of my favorites. What we're going to be talking about is how to take time to relax physically, mentally, socially, and spiritually. And I've been working on sleep for some time, and it's an area that I've done a lot of thought about. And I think the last time I told you that I spent a month in Thailand a few years ago. And during that month in Thailand, we were living out in the country. And if you've ever lived out in the country, kind of away from the hustle and bustle, it's a different life. And during that month, we didn't have TV, we didn't have indoor kitchens or flushing toilets or tubs or any of the things that you're really used to. And we had to travel like an hour to get into town. And in town, we would do our shopping. We could go to internet cafes so that we could get access to the internet. And in the country, it was different. People went to bed when it was dark. So they were going to bed very early in the evening. There was no place to go. And outdoors sounded like the Wild Kingdom at night because you could hear all the animals doing whatever they do. And one thing you would not do is go outside that door after dark. So early in the morning, 3:30, 4 o'clock, people started getting up to go to work. And you could hear people on their motorbikes, on their trucks, picking up people to go out to the fields to work. There also was a morning announcement truck that rode down the one main road that ran through town, and it blasted out the morning news over a megaphone, very loud and in Thai. So we couldn't understand what was going on, but it was loud. After spending a month out in the country, eating natural foods, wasn't a lot of variety of foods. I actually lost 20 pounds that month, enjoying all those wonderful vegetables, but not having much else. Now, when it was time to come back home, I realized for the first time in my life that I had really experienced rest. The difference of true, real rest will make our lives unbelievable. I believe rest is a fountain of youth. So tonight we're going to take a look at that topic and really investigate. And then the rest of the class, we're going to look at environment, activity, trust, interpersonal outlook, and nutrition. And we'll take a little time with each one of those as we get to them. Now, from the very beginning, God wanted us to be happy and live full lives. He gave us the prescription and as to how to live that life and how to overflow with health and peace and joy. And his gift of rest is part of what he gave to us. And before I go deeply into this subject, I first want to go back and review last week. All right, week one summary. Last week we talked about choice, and choice as being the starting point to make change. Unless we choose to make a change, we will not make a change. We talked about the role of the frontal lobe of your brain in making decisions. And we talked about ways to build your frontal lobe with more education and books and study and learning and good music and exercise and fresh air to build that frontal lobe so that you have the capability to make better choices and better decisions. We also talked about the 5 steps to good decision making. They were be clear about what to decide, gather your facts and set your criteria, develop options, and then evaluate those options and assess the risk. Make decisions and follow through. Now, these ideas are on page 20 to 22 in your workbook, and you might want to go back through them. What we're doing with the homework assignments is reinforcing some of these steps and helping to put together the legwork in order to do that. The next thing was our work assignments for last week, and I do want to go back and take a look at the workbook assignments. On page 245 to 246 in the book, you were working on the Are You Living Creation Healthy? Now, some of you took this test early last year, and we asked you to take it again now and see if any of these areas you've improved. Now, in the Are You Living Creative Healthy, it took those topics: choice, rest, environment, activity, trust, interpersonal relationships, outlook, and nutrition. And it asked you questions in each of those areas. And it asked you to rate from 1 to 5, with 1 being poor, how you felt you measured up in that area. So for instance, under choice, it says mission. I have a personal written mission statement that describes my values and guides the decisions I make on a daily basis. If I don't have one, my answer was rated a 1. If I have a perfect one that I follow all the time, it's a 5. And then anything in between average, above average, or below average. And you would rate every one of those topics. The second thing in choice was goals. And it says, I regularly set goals for myself as the most important area of my life, and I keep a written record of my progress, rated from 1 to 5. And then one that kills me, slays me like a dragon, discipline. I am good at delaying gratification until I achieve the goal I set. Number 1, if I'm very poor at that. Number 5, if I'm excellent. So as you can see, I'd go through each of these and I would answer those questions. Under rest, it says I sleep soundly 7 or 8 hours a night. And it goes through. Once you rate all of those, then you're going to add those up. And then on page 246, you're going to tally what you added up. So you're going to add up your total choice, your total score in choice and rest in each one of those. And then you're going to add those up to a total score. Now, your total score could have been anywhere from 40 to 200. And depending on your score, it tells you what your creation health lifestyle score would be. If your score was 200, it would say, congratulations on the score, keep healthy living. If it was 120 to 159, it says you're average. Your experience of life is routine and moderately acceptable in your comparison with others. Depending on your motivation, there could be some area of your life that could be improved. Review of your creation letter scores with your mentor coach could reveal some ideal areas for you to begin enhancing your life. So whatever score you got there, then you would take a look at it. Now, also it said here to summarize your 3 lowest scores and your 3 highest. And this would help you to hone into maybe the area of lifestyle that you might want to do some more work. Is there anyone on the line who finished that workshop example this week? Anyone?
I did.
Okay, I've got one person who did it. By next week, can everybody on the line commit to finishing that assessment? And then if you did it the last time, we're going to compare your score with what you had the last time. And then when we have our breakout next week, we'll report in what we did. Okay, and there's some other exercises in the book that will help you to develop the focus on the change. One of them is on page 252, and that's your health style index. And on page 252, that example is going to be another kind of self-rating score of index, but it's looking at your level of physical activity, your strength training, your body weight, your eating habits, and you're going to answer and score in those areas. And this is another assessment that's going to help you as you start working with your SMART tool. Now, the reason for the exercise is to come up with our SMART action plan. And we would hope by next week that some of you are moving toward defining exactly what it is you want to work on, and then to start putting together your SMART action plan. And we'll talk more about that. We did talk last week about what if I'm not ready? And this is what is your level of readiness to change? And I posted a file last week, and I emailed it to you in the reminder for the workshop, the exercise, so that you might go in. If you're having trouble making change, the possibility that you may not be ready for that change might be one of the reasons why you're having such a hard time. And so if you take that tool, evaluate the areas that we're looking at, then we can come back and talk about, so if I'm not ready for actually making a commitment to make a change, then where am I? And then we can suggest some other things to help you get ready, to think about getting ready to make the change. Make sense? Okay, moving right along, the homework assignment for today is going to be given again at the end. I just want to tease you with this right now. But the question that we're answering today is, where am I now? And we're going to have some tools that you're going to use to help you to understand where you are now. And there's a couple of questionnaires, and I will post that information in chat, but I've got some better ideas about how to get that information to you on an ongoing basis. And then one of the fun things that I thought we'd work on is a wellness wheel. Now, this wellness wheel is an interesting way to look at where you are in these different areas. You notice that our wheel has spokes in it, and it has a lot of categories around the outside of the wheel. It starts up here with spiritual connections, and it asks you to rate from 1 to 10. Where are you in spiritual connections? That means meditation, prayer, and a sense of purpose. And you would then mark along this line, I'm either a 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, and put a dot. You go to the next one, physical activity, cardio, strength, and flexibility. Am I a 1? Am I a 10? And you're going to go around that whole circle and do it. The question is, when you get through rating this, will your wheel roll? Okay, are you even on 10s all the way around, and that wheel's going to roll or not? And then it's going to ask you to write a summary describing your current level of wellness. And we want to spend some time talking about that next week. Okay, for right now, what we want to do, and I'm going to stop sharing my screen here. And what we would like to do at this point is to do our first breakout session for today. And it looks like most of you that are on the phone haven't finished your work assignments. However, we're going to do the breakout and talk with you about how we're going to get going. So before we go on to my topic for today, I would like to just point out one other thing in the first chapter on choice. And this one is actually on page 18 of the workbook. And it's a section that is in choice, is pointing out how important it is for us to know who are you. And it said, in order to make wise decisions, you need to know as much about yourself as possible. Knowing yourself is the foundation of a wise decision and is vital when taking the first decision-making step, which is be careful about what to decide. There are a number of good assessments, tests that you can find, skill inventories, and there's a big market for these, and you can find them all over the website. And these will provide a mosaic tile of who you are. Separately, they are only pieces, but together they form a pretty good picture. So if you can look into those, and you'll see some of them listed in the book. And it talks too about values. And it said, simply put, your values are what is important to you. Now, the interesting statement here is they are not what should be important to you. It's not what you think others should be important, but what you think. And once you establish what are your values, then you can start to understand and develop a plan around your values. Now, there is a list of personal values in chapter 1 that will help you start a checklist, and it's asking for you to list your 20 top values. And once you take a look at the value statements, then to figure out what's most important to you. And it'd be a good exercise to do just to get everything kind of in order. If we're going to nail a change that we need to make, that change is going to have to fit within your value structure. Because when we start talking about what prevented me from being successful in the past, some of these ideas might be things that might have helped you. And then it gets to objectives. And it says the objectives are what you want out of life, both from personal and career. Objectives are, in essence, a long-term goal. So when we start writing our plan is going to be short-term, but we want to have long-term goals. There's never a time in life that we should be functioning without some dream or plan or future or thing that you'd like to see. As in reference to your health. Now, I know a lot of us have fallen into the trap of spending most of our life worrying about everybody else and not taking care of ourselves. This is particularly true of women with families, because you get so tied up in getting everybody else taken care of that you don't take care of yourself. And the interesting thing is your healthy family moves on in life, and you're left with the diseases and the pain and the agonies of having focused your whole life on getting them going. So we want to just stop and take note of who am I and what's important to me, what are my values, and let's separate everybody else out of that discussion and focus on how we can get that done. This whole chapter on choice really has a lot of information in it. And if it's one of your areas where you did not score as high on your original test, go back and read everything in that chapter. And you'll find also on page 28, you're going to find references that will give you more reading on that topic. Every one of these topics that we're covering in the workshop, you cannot cover in one session of a workshop. It takes a lifetime to really build the type of information that you need to be successful. Rest makes it possible for us to function at our best. Optimally, rest includes getting a good night's sleep, taking time to relax daily, weekly, and yearly. Life stresses and pressures accumulate over time to create a generalized disease with life. Rest is a powerful antidote for everyday challenges and the difficulties that we face. Rest was created by God, and he modeled it in the Garden of Eden. During the first 6 days of creation, he created life, but on the 7th day, he created love and rested with his new family. In Genesis 1:3-5, God created night and day. His first act of creation in Genesis 2. His last act of creation was the gift of the Sabbath, a time set apart for rest, reflection, and fellowship with him and each other. Rest is meant to rejuvenate us, refresh us, regenerate our minds, our bodies, and our souls. Now, because our culture revolves around the bottom line, we are pressed by demands. Our days are filled with urgent responsibilities, and our rest is often compromised. But when we give ourselves the gift of rest, we become more effective, we're more efficient, and that's why this seminar is inviting you to enjoy a restorative rhythm of rest. So not just to look at a good night's sleep, but to get in sync with a rhythm of rest. So sleep is essential for good health. Without proper rest, we forfeit the health benefits that nutrition and exercise provide. Can I repeat that? Without proper rest, we forfeit the health benefits that nutrition and exercise provide. In fact, people who don't get enough regular sleep have decreased brain function, and increased rates of disease and mortality. For optimal functioning, take advantage of restorative effects of regular sleep. Now, this seminar covers the essential effects of rest, physical, mental, and spiritual. So let's take a look at the topic from Minnie and the gang from the Florida Institute and see what they have to say about this.
Life has a rhythm. The waves of the sea roll in and they roll out. The wind picks up and it dies down. The sun rises and it sets. From season to season, the moon makes its rounds through the sky
Somebody needs
as
to
our
mute.
planet cycles through the stages of death and rebirth on its heavenly voyage around the sun. Through it all, we notice that rest is part of this rhythm and essential to perpetuating the unending cycle of life. Without it, we disintegrate into small fragments of stress and weariness. We become numb, dazed, and dull. But with it, we function at our best. Rest regenerates our mind, rejuvenates our spirits, and rebuilds our body. Rest is one of time's most important rhythms on our voyage through life because it renews us daily. We live in a 24-hour-a-day culture. Our days are crammed full with urgent responsibilities and other priorities. Rest? Usually it's kicked to the bottom of the list. Think about it. Expectations of us are different than they were for our grandparents. It used to be that businesses, even grocery stores, closed at 5 o'clock. People spent the evenings with their families. There weren't TVs or computers. Back then, your errands that you didn't get done today were just put off until tomorrow. Today, if you didn't happen to make it to the store to get your kids new shoes, well, the store is open 24 hours. Banking and internet shopping, well, they are always just a few clicks away. It's like we never seem to have time to just stop, be still, and enjoy life, to rest. The true benefits of rest are widely misunderstood and generally unappreciated. The stress and pressures of life can accumulate over time and create a generalized dis-ease with life. Rest is a powerful antidote for the everyday challenges of life. In this Creation Health presentation, we'll discover the essential practices of rest. So let's join Dr. Des Cummings as he reveals simple ways we can start embracing the healing powers of rest to enjoy living our best days starting now.
The only way to live life to the fullest is to understand God's original design and purpose for our lives. According to Genesis, God created life in 6 days and rested on the seventh day. If rest was important in a perfect world, then it's even more important in our imperfect world. The Bible says, "Be still and know that I am God." This means far more than getting 8 hours of sleep or taking your annual vacation. We are going to explore the 3 dimensions of rest: physical, mental, and spiritual. Experiencing each of these elements of rest daily, weekly, and yearly will rejuvenate our mind, our body, and our spirit. Physical rest keeps us functioning at our best. But studies show sleep also promotes a trim waistline and helps you maintain your weight. It protects against high blood pressure and other diseases and also strengthens our memory. We've always known we need to get regular sleep to be healthy. But do we really understand what happens to our bodies when we don't get enough sleep? Sleep is often the part of our day that gets compromised first. Our schedule's full, and then whatever is left over at the end of the day for sleep. This lack of adequate sleep affects more than just how tired we are the next day. It compromises the positive effects of exercise and good nutrition. To be healthy, we must sleep well. The restorative and rejuvenating effects of regular sleep keep our mind and body functioning at their best. Did you know that 30% of Americans sleep less than 6 hours each night? When people sleep less than 4 hours a night, various hormonal and metabolic systems begin to malfunction. Chronic sleep loss can hasten and increase the severity of diabetes, high blood pressure, and obesity. Studies indicate that women who work the night shift and care for their children in the daytime talk about sleep with the same intensity that hungry people talk about food. And research shows that women who sleep for 5 hours or less a night significantly increase their risk of heart disease. Reduced sleep causes daytime fatigue, reduced neurocognitive or brain function, and depression. Nightly sleep is essential for optimum health because lack of sleep causes various abnormal physiological changes. It seems we always catch colds when we're tired and run down. This is because losing 3 hours of sleep on any given night cuts the effectiveness of our immune system in half. Loss of sleep also decreases our ability to accomplish tasks that are governed by the frontal lobe, the brain's decision center. These include planning, concentration, motor performance, and high-level intellectual skills. Brain scans reveal decreased blood to the frontal lobe in people who are chronically sleep deprived. One particularly troubling study found that people who were sleep deprived for 14 days reported feeling only slightly sleepy. They didn't realize how impaired they were. Their ability to pay attention and to react to stimulus such as driving situations was reduced. It's worth noting that large-scale disasters like Chernobyl, the Exxon Valdez accident, and the 3 Mile Island incident all happened in early pre-dawn hours when workers were likely to be most tired. We all know adults need between 7 and 8 hours of sleep each night to be our healthiest. But too much sleep can be harmful as well. People who sleep less than 6 hours and more than 9 hours a night live on average 9 years less than those who sleep 7 to 8 hours nightly. Think of it as your sleep target. Some surprising research has emerged that addresses how much sleep we get and when we get it. Dr. Timothy H. Monk, one of the world's foremost authorities on sleep, says human beings are built to be daytime creatures. It's hardwired into our circuitry. And when you deliberately try to shift the sleep-wake cycle, it's like having a symphony with 2 conductors, each one beating out a different time. Your delicate internal rhythms go haywire. We need to treat sleep as a precious and powerful key to health. Monk's research shows that early risers are more likely than night owls to stick to healthy routines. They sleep better too. Early risers wake up, eat meals, exercise, and go to bed around the same time each night, whereas night owls are inconsistent. Consistency boosts and reinforces healthy practices. Our bodies are like rhythms, according to Monk. One of the secrets that helps us achieve regenerating sleep is a hormone called melatonin. Normally, melatonin levels are highest during the ideal hours of sleep. They increase rapidly in the late evening, peaking after midnight, and then decrease towards morning. Functions of melatonin include synchronizing our body's circadian rhythms, regulating changes in the mental and physical characteristics that occur in the course of a day, and stimulating our immune system. It's also a potent antioxidant. Foods high in melatonin include bananas, tomatoes, and cucumbers. So, if you like snacking before bedtime, a banana might be a good choice. The release of melatonin naturally increases in the late evening hours. Arranging our bedtime accordingly allows us to reap the natural benefits of how God designed our bodies. Keeping the lights on and staying up late reduces the release of melatonin. Keeping our bedrooms completely dark will encourage deep and restful sleep. Going to bed as early as possible helps with the release of the human growth hormone ghrelin, which peaks during non-REM sleep about an hour after we fall asleep. Non-REM sleep happens in the early hours of the night and diminishes as morning approaches. You've heard people talk about getting their beauty sleep. Well, this growth hormone has a powerful effect on maintaining a youthful appearance. Slow wave sleep is one of the deeper stages of sleep. Almost all restorative sleep happens during the hours before midnight. In other words, if you don't go to bed until early morning, you'll miss out on the best hours for restorative sleep. Our circadian rhythms are hardwired. They contribute to a variety of life-enhancing hormonal releases that restore our bodies and keep us in optimal health. You can start improving your health tonight. Simply get 7 to 8 hours of sleep and make them quality hours by going to bed early and benefit from the restorative and rejuvenating effects of sleep.
Now that's a great idea, 7 or 8 hours a night of sleep. How many people get anywhere near 7, 8 hours of sleep a night? I don't hear anybody on the line. It's incredible but true. 30 to 40% of people sleep less than 6 hours a night. Now, I've spent most of my life sleeping less than 6 hours. It started in college and never quit until I started paying attention a few years ago. And sleeping 4 or 5 hours a night, I felt like I was doing just fine. I wake up and do my days, but I was running from place to place and never slowing down. So once I set the target to try to get 7 hours of sleep, it was a dogfight. And it took maybe 3 years to just learn how to go to bed at night. Because normally I'd start a project in the evening around 8 o'clock, and at midnight I was just getting going strong, and so never got to bed on time. So starting to try to change that habit, I would have to move the bedtime back a little bit earlier until I could get it to early. Now, it took me 3 years just to get to 7 hours of sleep a night. And the strange thing that happened, I went on vacation this summer and I was gone for over a month. When I came back, my sleep schedule was completely lost. And it's taken me a month and a half to really start getting, matter of fact, only one night in the last 2 months have I gotten 7 hours worth of sleep. And to retrain, to get back in sync with that schedule, anytime you get off of it, is going to take a lot of work. And we're going to give you some ideas as to how to overcome some of the issues that prevent us from getting the sleep that we need. But I think the first step is to recognize how bad we need that sleep, and then to put a plan in place to really go about getting it. Now, I learned about the different kinds of sleep when I was trying to investigate what I needed to do. And sleep is divided basically into 2 basic types. It's REM sleep and non-REM sleep. And non-REM sleep has its stages as well. And REM sleep usually comes about 90 minutes after you fall asleep. It cycles along with the non-REM stages through the night. During REM sleep, your eyelids are closed and the eyes are moving rapidly. Breathing is more rapid, irregular, and shallow. Your heart rate and blood pressure is increased. This is when dreaming occurs. Your arm and leg muscles are temporarily paralyzed. Now, during the night, you really don't have any control over what stage of sleep that you're in, but some of the things that you do during the day can put you in a better position to get to these stages of sleep. So it talks about REM sleep, which begins with non-REM. In stage 1, non-REM sleep, you sleep lightly. You can be awakened easily by noises and disturbances. During this first stage of sleep, your eyes are moving slow and your muscle activity slows. You then run into stage 2, non-REM sleep. Your eye movement stops. The brain falls into a pattern of slower brain waves with occasional bursts of rapid waves. Overall, almost 1/2 of your total sleep time is spent in stage 1 and 2 non-REM sleep, and then about 1/5 of each in deep sleep. In contrast, infants sleep half or more of their total sleep time in REM sleep. Gradually, as they mature, the percentage of total sleep time spent in REM progressively decreases. Now, I wear a Fitbit that measures my sleep at night and tells me approximately how many hours I get of REM sleep, and I shouldn't say hours, sometimes it's minutes, and how much deep sleep. And these different stages of sleep, different things are happening in your body as far as repairing and muscles and brains and storage for long-term and short-term mental storage. All these things are happening during these stages of sleep. What I have noticed on nights when I get more REM sleep and more deep sleep, the next day I am just much, much more powerful. So I work very diligently to try to improve that sleep by improving what I'm doing during the day. And we'll talk about that a little more.
I have a
Yeah.
quick question.
Yes, ma'am.
My question is, what if you cannot go to sleep? You go to bed, but you can't go to sleep. My body just requires 5 hours of sleep. I know I should sleep longer, but I have difficulty sleeping longer than 5 hours. So
right. And Betty, that's the way I was when I started. It was a forced issue to get to more than 5 hours. And so what you need is to refocus your bedtime routine. I have a time that I start shutting down for bed, and it's 10 o'clock right now. And it was funny when I first got back from vacation, I worked real hard just to get to my bedroom by 10, because I keep finding things to do in the rest of the house. Okay. And then once you get to the bedroom, what are you going to do to go to sleep? Well, I had to kick out the phone and the iPad and all of that out of the bedroom, because one of the things you don't want to do is be in front of a screen before you go to bed. That messes with your rest because of the light that you're getting when you're using screens. Then you want to have a bedtime routine that may include meditation, but some type of routine that you go through at night so that your body knows you're getting ready to go to sleep. All right, and that could be, I've got a chapter of the Bible that I read before I go to sleep at night. That's to calm down, get me off the screens and all of that. I won't look at the Bible on the phone. I pick up the book and I read it. And forcing myself to get into the bedroom by 10 o'clock helps me. I'm moving that to 9:30 these days, because I'm finally being able to go to sleep once I get to the room. But it's a habit and a training. Sometimes it's music that will help you go off to sleep. Sometimes it's meditation. What really helps are the nature sounds. If you're playing the rain and the wind, some of those tapes that will really help you to just go into a meditative state as you drop off to sleep. But it's got to be, I mean, it's something you plan and make happen. It's not something that's going to happen automatically. And we can give you some more ideas about the things that you can do to get your body primed for sleep. But what your body likes more than anything is habit. And when you go to bed about the same time every night, eventually your body is trained to get in sync with that rhythm. Now, there is a natural rhythm, and Dr. Des talked about it in his tape about the circadian rhythm. There's a natural rhythm that the world is operating on, with or without you. And when your body is in sync with the circadian rhythms, you're going to be at a better peak experience with the things that you're trying to do. And sleep is one of the critical ones. Okay, and we'll talk more about that. But anyhow, these different sleep stages, you have no control over them except during the day. If you're getting enough sunshine, enough exercise, fresh air, those kind of things are the things that are going to help you sleep better at night. So let's talk about the benefits of adequate and early sleep. All right, getting early sleep nightly is important. It says 2 hours before midnight is worth 4 hours after midnight. So the earlier before midnight that you can get to bed, the better chance of getting to the deep levels of sleep that you need. Now, we all know that 7 to 8 hours of sleep a night is best for adults and is associated with the greatest longevity. The Alameda County study, mortality rates from heart disease, cancer, stroke, and all causes combined were lowest for people who slept 7 to 8 hours a night. More than 8 hours, we already know is detrimental, but we do want to get to 7 to 8 hours. And it's been proven that children need more sleep. And, you know, it's frightening today the way the teenagers stay up all night on their devices. It's going to take a toll. But it says infants from 3 to 11 months, they need 14 to 15 hours of sleep a day. Toddlers 1 to 3, 12 to 14 hours. Preschoolers 3 to 5, 11 to 13 hours. And then school-age children from 5 to 12 need 9 to 11 hours. Adolescents need 8.5 to 9.5 hours a night. So it's really important to get our children trained to sleep. And if you have the same problem with, beg your pardon? Say again? Okay, I didn't get that. I'll try to pick it up later, okay? So we want to talk about early sleep. And Des Cummings talked about Dr. Timothy Monk from the University of Pittsburgh. He said humans are built to be daytime creatures. It's hardwired into our circuitry. And anybody who's tried to work a night shift can tell how hard it is to get your body to switch over to a night shift. Okay, and our studies show that we function best physiologically and psychologically when our internal cycles are well synchronized with those of the external world. If we mess up our sleep and wake patterns, for example, we feel out of sorts. Our mood suffers, alertness wanes, concentration falters, memory worsens, and performance declines. So physical well-being suffers a lot too. The immune system is compromised, hormones are in disarray, and stomach problems can arise.
Rose,
So,
just a
yes.
second. Could you check the waiting room again?
I did, and I just let somebody in a minute ago. Is somebody still there?
Palmera was coming back. She got cut off.
Oh, okay. Let me see how I can get to there. Is Olive still on? No,
He got knocked off.
he did too. Okay, hold on a minute. Let's see how I can get back to there. Let me see how I can get.
Oh,
back
no,
to
she's
there.
on. I see her. She's on now.
Oh, okay. All right. Now let's see. I got out of sync. Where was I? PowerPoint here. Okay, let me fix this for a minute. Because I'm not in, you're not in view right now, right?
See all the slides.
You see the whole slide?
No,
Okay, so you're okay? So I think we already talked about early sleep and Monk. The early bird payoff, it's worth getting out of bed because your social interaction, your eating, your physical activity, everything is going to work better when you have adequate enough sleep and you get good sleep. Your immune system is going to be in better shape if you get the right amount of sleep. If your immune system is off, of course, those people who catch colds all the time and stay in trouble probably need to go back and look at whether they're getting enough rest at night. And they found that those people who go to bed earlier do better in school. They have higher scores on exams and a higher academic performance. So another benefit of getting to bed early is the benefits of the 3 and 4 stage sleep. And when you can get your deep sleep and your REM sleep, if you get to bed earlier, you got more time during the night to get to those later sleep stages and to spend more time in those stages. And Dr. Des talked about the hormones a little bit, and the hormones that are impacted a lot by sleep, number one is melatonin. And you know, melatonin is the hormone that helps you sleep. And when you get the proper rest, it maximizes that hormone. And what you find about melatonin is it's necessary for you to have a good mix of melatonin to get good sleep. Getting to bed earlier maximizes the benefit of that melatonin. It synchronizes your circadian and your circannual, which is your annual circadian rhythm. It stimulates your immune functions, and it helps with the free radicals, to prevent the free radicals in your system. Some of the things that melatonin does, it guards your nervous system against degenerative diseases like Alzheimer's and strokes. It prevents debilitating migraines. It coordinates physiological rhythms that set the brain's clock, and easily diffuses all cell crossing the blood-brain barrier to protect delicate brain. So melatonin is important to us, and generating enough to get the sleep, getting early will help us. Melatonin also decreases our cognitive deterioration. So in individuals with Alzheimer's disease, it can also help manage elevated blood pressure in both men and women. And it helps fight a wide array of cancers, including breast cancer, liver cancers, non-small cell lung cancers, and brain metastases from solid tumors. So melatonin is just really important for us in our sleep. And in order for us to get melatonin, we can find it not only in naturally occurring in us, but we can get it from some foods. And plants in varying levels have some concentrations of melatonin. The kind of food that you would find melatonin in would be things like walnuts, almonds, tomatoes, grape skins, olive oil, and tart cherries. It has an anti-cancer effect as well. So it's important to maximize its production and release in our system. Light is a potent stimulator for regulating the pineal gland production of melatonin. Modern life production of melatonin. Modern life promotes more light stimulus at night. That extra stimulus of light at night suppresses our melatonin. Going to bed earlier and limiting your exposure to bright lights at night is beneficial. And you know, they also recommended sleeping in a room as dark as you can get it, and making sure that your room is cool so that you have a good sleeping environment. The other two hormones that affect your sleep or are affected by your sleep is your ghrelin and your leptin. And these are the two hormones that give your body, let your body knows that you're hungry or full. So sleep restriction, not having enough sleep, will boost the ghrelin. And this is the hormone that makes us feel hungry. So a lot of times when we don't get sleep and we keep eating, it's because we're sleepy, not hungry, because that hormone has been thrown out of whack. Now, a lack of sleep also suppresses the leptin. This suppresses your appetite and makes us feel full. So not having enough sleep will make you get to a point where your body does not recognize when you are full. So sometimes when we're having these eating frenzies, it may be based on the fact that we just need more rest, okay? So deep sleep triggers the release of the human growth hormone also, which fuels growth in children and boosts muscle mass and repairs cells and tissues in children and adults. So getting sleep is going to help us all the way around with getting those hormones under control. All right, let's wrap up this session on the benefits of getting early bed. And let's move on into tips on how to shift your schedule. So if you're having trouble getting to bed or staying in bed, there are some things that you can do. Now, when I came back from vacation, I didn't have any trouble going to bed, but I was waking up at 3, 4, and 5 o'clock in the morning as if I had just slept all night. And I had no idea why I was waking up so early and feeling so completely rested. And so what I started doing was getting up, because staying in bed was doing no good, and started reading, studying, doing projects, and then go back to bed and sleep out to my regular wake up time. And eventually got to the point where I could sleep through that. I don't know what did it. But if you're trying to shift your schedule, it says start slow. If you're going to bed at 12 o'clock, don't automatically jump to 9:30 or 10. Just take it back by 15 minutes gradually every evening until you get it to the time that you want to be. Then be consistent. It says even on the weekend, you want to go to bed at the same time. Your body loves nothing more than discipline. And then add some vigorous physical activity in the morning. So when you get up, to really wake yourself up and get going. We know that if you don't get enough sleep, that your immune system is going to be affected. And during sleep, your body also creates hormones that help your immune system to fight various infections. So when you're not getting enough sleep, you are leaving yourself open to some of those infections because your immune system is not going to be properly taken care of. It also can hasten the onset and the risk and severity of diabetes, high blood pressure, obesity, and coronary heart disease. If you want to lose weight, get a good sleep program going. It will help control your weight. If your diabetes is out of control, use that as one of your tools to start getting your blood sugars under control. Now, the rise and fall of blood sugar level during sleep appears to be linked to the sleep stage. Inadequate sleep or time spent in each sleep stage disrupts the pattern. So when healthy young men slept only 4 hours a night for 6 nights in a row, insulin and blood sugar levels mimic those people who were developing diabetes. Another study found that women who slept less than 7 hours a night were more likely to develop diabetes than those who slept between 7 or 8 hours a night. So the studies support that without the proper amount of sleep, these diseases can be impacted and can impact us worse. And this one just talks about how it affects your BMI and the correlation between lack of sleep and high BMI. And what happens when you're sleep deprived? And let me talk about that in just a minute. It affects your planning, your concentration, your motor performance, and high-level intellectual skills. So if you're operating on a lack of sleep over an extended time, you're going to be impacted in those areas. And when they did the study, they looked at people after 14 days of sleep deprivation, and they found that they didn't feel necessarily sleepy. They were unaware of the impairments that they had, and being tested, they had multiple impairments. They were less able to pay attention, to think quick, to react to stimulus, or to multitask. Car accidents happen more often for people who have not had adequate amount of sleep. And they say the impact on your driving ability is disastrous. So to avoid drowsy driving, you want to be well rested, avoid driving in the middle of the night, drive with a companion, take frequent breaks, avoid alcohol, don't count on caffeine, and just be aware. And I just took a cross the country driving trip. And one of the things that we try to do is drive during the day and sleep during the night, so that we stay on our sleep patterns. It's safer for you when you're on the road. So how are you going to get the most benefit from your sleep? You're going to, during the day, get plenty of sunshine, fresh air, exercise, and you're going to eat a very light supper. By allowing your stomach to be empty, your digestion to be completed before you go to bed, you are going to be able to sleep better. And get a good day's worth of sleep. If you can't sleep at night and you're exhausted, make a way to take naps during the day. Just make sure that when you relax during the day, that you don't interfere with your night sleeping by taking your naps in the earlier part of the day, and then get rid of the stimulus. And we are so stimulated on TV, on our phones, on our iPads, on the news. There's so many things that are interrupting our peace. So we want to slow down at night and really get a good night's sleep. And then again, we mentioned having a good sleep environment, a dark room, a quiet room with a cool temperature. And Use your bed only for sleep and intimacy. Don't do work in your bed and all that. You're going to confuse yourself. And when you get ready to go to bed, you would start thinking of things to do. If you use it only for sleep, your body gets conditioned for coming to bed to go to sleep. Make sure you got fresh air circulating in the room, and that your pillows and mattresses in bed are comfortable. And follow your natural sleep rhythm, early to bed and early to rise. All right, I want to play this tape for you, and we're probably going to end on this today, but we'll have a couple of things to talk about before we quit.
There's more to rest than the sleep we get at night. In addition to nightly sleep, we also need daily, weekly, and annual restorative mental rest. During the French Revolution, France implemented a 10-day work week. Chaos resulted, and the country's mental institutions quickly overflowed because the people had no rest, physically or mentally. Mental rest is much harder to define and is less understood than physical rest because it is slightly different for each of us. For example, President Harry Truman loved to play the piano. It took him away from the cares of the White House and refreshed his mind. Now for me, playing the piano would definitely add stress to my day. But nothing rejuvenates me more than talking with my grandchildren. My day can be packed with meetings and obligations, but when I pick up the phone and call my grandkids, my cares fade. I begin to smile. They make me laugh. And within minutes, I have a new outlook for the day. They bring me back to my real priorities. But these moments don't happen by accident. We have to plan them. In today's world, multitasking is the norm. We're expected to drive, talk on the phone, and finish the sandwich we didn't have time to eat at lunch, all at the same time. Our minds are cluttered with tasks, appointments, and the stresses of daily life. To be at our best, our minds need to be focused and organized. For instance, if you watch athletic events, the time the coach spends with the team just before the game is critical. There's no multitasking. The team becomes focused. When athletes focus on the coach and their goal, distractions of the crowd disappear, and their minds are centered on winning. Athletes call this being in the zone. For us, being in the zone is to be mentally focused on the most important priorities God has for our lives. When we're truly focused, we experience the benefits of mental rest. Mental rest happens in many ways. Whatever it is for you, it should be a complete break from the day's activities. One way to know if you are really relaxing is to experience how fast time flies when you're taking your mental break. It can be as simple as walking outside for a few minutes and breathing fresh air. This improves your sense of well-being. The fresh air also has a tranquilizing and relaxing effect. Just take a break in your normal routine and think about or pursue something you truly enjoy. It can be as short as 10 to 15 minutes. For you, maybe it's reading your favorite book during your lunch hour or playing fetch with your dog after work. Whatever it may be, find your personal mental rest.
And I'm going to skip right over to the last topic for today, which is our spiritual rest. And let's look at that, and then I'll close out with some ideas for next week.
Spiritual rest. This final and most important element of rest means to be at peace with God. Being at peace with God is to live in the rhythm of life He originated when He created this earth. In the creation story, God designed the world in 6 days and then rested on the seventh day. And it wasn't because His physical needs demanded it. He took time to rest simply because He wanted to enjoy the life He'd created with His children. It was the day for love. To truly enjoy the benefits of spiritual rest, we should all take a guilt-free, no-stress day for love and rest. Imagine what our world would be like if every 7 days we took 1 day just to simply rest. Our world operates on this same 7-day rhythm. We find this cycle in plants, animals, and humans. Medical research has demonstrated 7-day rhythms in connection with a variety of physiological functions. These include heart rate, swelling after surgery, rejection of transplanted organs, inflammatory responses, and the drugs we use to treat them. For instance, a patient will tend to have an increase in swelling on the 7th and the 14th day after surgery. Likewise, a patient who has a kidney transplant is more likely to reject the organ 7 days and 14 days after surgery. This 7-day rhythm suggests we should honor weekly rhythms if we want to take care of our health. And if we want to live life to the fullest, we should energize our lives with physical, mental, and spiritual rest. So here are 5 simple tips for getting your best rest. Get to bed early. Take brief mental breaks throughout your day. Focus your thoughts on God. Maintain a regular sleep schedule. And take a day each week to simply rest. Start today by implementing one or more of these practices. Begin enjoying your life, not sometime in the future, but right now when it matters most. For when you do this, you are ready to enjoy the rest of your life.
So now you've seen the incredible benefits of rest restorative rhythms. We've also seen how rest is a powerful antidote for coping with the challenges of life. But most of all, we've discovered rest's greatest, best-kept secret, that God rested to enjoy. This is why we rest. We rest in order to enjoy. It's that simple. The wisest man who ever lived, King Solomon, said, "To everything there is a season, a time for every purpose under heaven." God had a purpose when He gave us the wonderful gift of rest. You see, rest refreshes our mind, rejuvenates our spirit, and rebuilds our body. It creates the opportunity for us to savor life. Life isn't about how much we can get done in a certain amount of time, but about how much of life we are able to enjoy and appreciate during our journey. Accept life's invitation today to enter into restorative rest so that every moment of your life becomes a celebration that you'll savor and carry in your heart forever. That's creation health.
Okay, so there's a lot of information in there on rest. Those of you that really want to dig into that, chapter 2 of the book has a lot of exercises and a session to really help you deal with the area of rest. And I'm telling you, when I started searching the subject out, I didn't think it was an issue that I had. It absolutely was an issue. And it was a big problem that you just don't realize. I believe that I had unending energy that just because of who I was, not that I rested or took care of myself or any of that. And so sometimes we're totally unaware of where we need to make changes. All right, we're not going to have time for our final breakout tonight. We were just going to do a session, and next week we'll try to fit it in where we kind of reflect on what the topic was and to get focused on the direction we want to go from here. Now, I'm hoping that you will finish your Are You Living Well wheel this week. It was attached to the email. Now, I'm going to send you out early this week where our videos are going to be posted, and I will be publishing these worksheets at that site as well. So if you're still having trouble getting those or getting them downloaded, or you didn't get them off the email, they're going to be posted at the site that I'll send out to you. Are there any questions about this whole topic of rest or how you're going to go about making your plan? Okay, I thank you so much for your attendance this evening. Let's close with prayer. Our Father, as we end this topic on rest, we understand that you gave us rest to benefit us. Help us to learn how to implement all the rest in our lives. And we thank you because you've given us the ability to rest in what you have already done for us. In Jesus' name we pray. Amen.